Isabel, thank you. Young boys are being diagnosed with autism and ADHD at a much higher rate than girls, but some experts are concerned about mis- and over-diagnosis and are questioning whether what is often normal boyhood behaviours are being viewed as a sign of a disorder. The new research is highlighted in a special series in News Corp papers this week. And Murdoch Children's Research Institute Professor Frank Oberklaid joins us now. Professor, thanks so much for your time.
Welcome.
Do you think a growing number of boys are being misdiagnosed?
Yes, I think it's a trend that we've seen over the last few years, particularly in the last 5 or 6 years. I think NDIS has been responsible for at least some of that because parents have been looking for a diagnosis in order to get services. And I think we've caught up lots of children who are just energetic, a bit distractible, a bit curious. Parents are concerned about them. They want some sort of support, some guidance. And for a long time, the best way to get that is to get a diagnosis and enter NDIS. So I think we are over-diagnosing lots of kids. We're sort of pathologizing what I would regard as normal behavior, because many of the problems that we see are not pathology. If you have an ear infection or a pain in your stomach, that's abnormal. You're not supposed to have an earache or a pain in your stomach or a urinary infection or asthma. But all of the behaviours that make up the so-called diagnosis of ADHD are normal. It's only the degree of those behaviours that make them abnormal. So all children are distractible to some extent, impulsive to some extent, find it hard to concentrate sometimes. Indeed, that's a feature of quote-unquote normal people. It's just the degree. So for one teacher, this is just an active boy who's curious, who needs breaks every now and then. For another teacher, this is a child with ADHD and we need to treat it. So there's a whole spectrum of normal. And my concern is that we're tending to pathologise what I would regard as just individual differences in children.
So, Professor, how do we get that diagnosis correct? Because you're saying which in some circumstances can be just normal behaviour, but then how do we get it right to ensure as parents and carers that our children are achieving their best, and if they do need support, they get the right diagnosis and the right support?
Well, these children don't always need a diagnosis. I think what clinicians will do when they assess these children is very carefully assess strengths as well as weaknesses. All of these children have strengths that are often ignored when we make a diagnosis. And we develop a formulation. What are the strengths and weaknesses this child has? And what sort of supports do these children need in order to flourish in the classroom and at home? That doesn't mean that not having a diagnosis means these children don't get supports. They can have medications to help their concentration if that's going to help. But we don't need to make a pathological diagnosis of these kids because there are real concerns. It's very hard to outgrow a diagnosis. Children start to feel there's something wrong with my brain that's going to be there for the rest of my life. It just doesn't allow for normal childhood behaviour. So we can still provide supports for these children. We can give guidance to parents, guidance to classroom teachers without them needing a formal diagnosis.
Such an important conversation, Professor. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're most welcome.